Let's talk some of the transfers, Tom, because one of the surprising rumours right now is Eden Hazard to Arsenal. Arsenal said to be looking at the possibility of a loan deal for the Belgian, and it seems that his form and his fitness, or lack thereof, for Real Madrid hasn't put them off.
I mean, I was surprised by this one. I simply cannot see this happening. He's just not the sort of player that you'd imagine Arteta would like to bring in. Now, obviously, fast forward 2 weeks and it's happened and I look extremely silly, but I cannot understand why they'd go for a player like Hazard, who at the moment is so short of form and fitness. We all know, look, he is a brilliant player, but the transfer to Real Madrid hasn't worked out. This season, he's played in just 3 La Liga matches, unused substitute much of the time. During the World Cup, we didn't really see much signs of the old Hazard there either. I'd be extremely surprised if this came off. I just don't think it's the sort of player which Arsenal want or necessarily need.
Any thoughts on it, Janusz?
Is he coming? Would he be coming for almost like free? Or I mean, if he was, I like if there's a coach, I'm with you. I mean,
Nothing's free, is it?
No, but I mean, he wouldn't. I mean, think Real Madrid would be very happy to get rid of him rather cheaply, wouldn't they? Right? Part of me thinks, if there's a coach, Mikel Arteta. I mean, he was the best in the Premier League once or twice. I can't remember. No indications, but if it wasn't too costly, why not? Experience. I mean, what's there to lose? You can always get rid of him. So highly unlikely, but Mikel Arteta strikes me as a manager that would like this project to kind of see if he can revive what we saw once in Eden Hazard. And remember, there was a season where he was unplayable, right? Premier League.
Let me stick with you, Janusz, because it's a player that we knew very well from the Bundesliga in Wout Weghorst, whose name has come up next. To Manchester United, it looks as though a verbal agreement has been reached. They'll pay Besiktas €3 million to end his loan early and take him from his parent club, Burnley, for the rest of the season. You'll remember those 2 goals against Argentina and the spat with Messi in Qatar. He's 6'6". He was brilliant. He was consistent at Wolfsburg. Would this be a good fit, do you think?
I think it would be zero risk. I love him. I mean, you know me. I mean, I've been talking about Wout when he was in Bundesliga. I've always felt that he's the sort of player that's kind of under the radar, not in a way of a superstar, but I think a player that's capable of scoring goals. Look, I mean, even I loved him at Burnley as well, even though, I mean, he wasn't a prolific goal scorer, but I think he contributed. And that's the beauty of it. He's humble enough, I think. He's one of those players that no matter where he goes, when he comes on the pitch, he makes a difference. You've mentioned what happened in the World Cup. I actually commentated that game. Was extremely happy for him because, I don't know, I think it just, in my book, he's the sword that, especially in January, he can come in, he can really, really help you. So I think it's a great buy. Part of me thought that, why not Chelsea? Chelsea would have been a team that could use Weghorst in that, because the way they play, obviously they have so many wide players that are capable of delivering a ball, and you have a pure 9 that kind of, I don't want to say that sits there because he does a lot more for a big guy, but I think there's almost zero risk for Manchester United. I mean, I don't see I don't see a risk here, and as I sit here, we're talking about Wout because he's a very likable player. He's a player, obviously, I think of him as a manager's dream. So I think he's going to contribute, and I like the signing.
You're nodding away at a number of points there, Tom Hamilton.
I am, yeah. I think it's a brilliant piece of business. Though he didn't score that many goals for Burnley, he brings something different to the team. He's tall, he's strong, he can hold the ball up. Imagine him playing alongside Rashford. Again, it's a sort of a no-risk transfer. And Man United have done this really, really well in the past. Remember when they took Henrik Larsson on loan? More recently, they took Igalo. They worked out. Of course, on the other end of the scale, you got Falcao, which was an unmitigated disaster. So United fans will be hoping it's more Larsson and Falcao, but I think it's a really decent piece of business and pretty astute from Erik ten Hag.
One thing we know about Brighton, Tom, is that they've been very good at identifying players, selling them at a profit. There's 2 names right now that I want to put up to you. Moises Caicedo to Liverpool and Leandro Trossard to Spurs. What more can you tell us about these rumours?
I think on the Caicedo front, Klopp at the start of the transfer window, after he signed Cody Gakpo, said that it's kind of a monopoly market at the moment. Such are the prices being quoted by clubs and so forth. And obviously with Caicedo having played so well at the World Cup, his stock has definitely risen. If this is something which goes ahead, I imagine it would be something which would be probably more closer pursued in the summer. And I think also the destination of Caicedo is probably also reliant on what happens to Jude Bellingham. Different players, but equally two extremely promising, impressive defensive midfielders or central midfielders. So Caicedo, I think, would be a brilliant fit for Liverpool. Exactly the sort of profile of a player they want. He's done so well at Brighton. While I expect that probably to happen, if it does happen later in the summer, I think Trossard's a really interesting one. He's exactly what Tottenham need at the moment. He's played well in the Premier League. He brings experience. He brings another option up front. He kind of takes that pressure off Harry Kane. I think if Trossard was available, then other clubs suddenly would start to pounce as well. He's that sort of player where he can slot into systems. He's very versatile. He's used to the Premier League. He ticks a lot of boxes.
And that's another player I want to bring up from the Bundesliga now, Janusz. I feel as though you want to say something about those Brighton players, though.
You know, Caicedo for Liverpool. I mean, I would do it now if there's a way, and of course we don't know. I mean, they need legs. I mean, this is you know because one of my favorite players, and unrealistic maybe, but it's been mentioned by everybody, and I think even in the rumor mill of Liverpool was Enzo Fernandez, who I absolutely love, but at this point, I mean, you could easily make an argument that if Enzo Fernandez wanted to come to Liverpool, you take him, but that's not exactly what Liverpool needs, right? I mean, that midfield needs legs, and that's exactly what you're going to get. A physical player, box to box. He can defend, he can attack. We saw that, I think, against Senegal. If you remember, he scored a goal in the first game, or their first game in the World Cup. I think it was first or second. Regardless, Moises Caicedo, the profile, as Tom said, for Liverpool at this moment, they need it now. They need it right away because that's not going to be easily fixed, even when everybody's healthy. That would be a perfect signing, or nearly perfect signing at this moment.
The next talker, Janusz, that I wanted to put to you is the name Youssoufa Moukoko. Obviously, we get to see the wonderful work that he's done for Borussia Dortmund, still very young. The talk is there will be a free transfer in the summer to Newcastle. They're very much interested. He's out of contract in the summer. Chelsea have been linked as well, but apparently the wage demands are high for this player. Can you see him coming to the Premier League, and would you like to see him there?
Yes, I mean, I still need to see a little bit more. I mean, he's so young, and we saw initially when he started playing for Borussia Dortmund, it wasn't all that easy, right? Then he kind of went to the bench again, and now he reemerged right now, just before the World Cup. We saw the quality there. He's just simply getting chances, right? Or, Haaland has left. Obviously, there's been a lot of injuries at Dortmund as well. So he consistently gets opportunities there. Look, you've mentioned this. I mean, the key thing is he's very young, he's very talented, but most importantly, he's free, or he will be free in the summer. So I think for Newcastle United, as they rebuild, why not? Eddie Howe has done a tremendous job improving the players that he has. I think the way Newcastle has gone about their season and their transfer policy has been absolutely wonderful. They buy players, not just for the sake of buying players, even though obviously they have money. So I see it. Is he the sort of player that's going to come into the Premier League and light it on fire immediately? I'm not convinced just yet. He's going to need time. So, not that I have doubts, but just enough to think, longer term project.
Tom, it's interesting, isn't it, to see that Newcastle are getting mentioned alongside the clubs that are usually getting the big names and the up-and-coming players?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a sign of the progress they've made, but also how clever their transfer business is as well, because they've really, we talk about all the money they've got, but they've judged it perfectly on the signings they've made so far. Look at Dan Burns scoring his first goal for the club the other day. Moukoko would be a real statement signing, the sign that Newcastle are there looking to compete at the highest level in terms of honours and also in European competitions as well. He's the sort of guy on which you could, we've seen Chelsea offering players incredibly long contracts, 7.5-year deals like Badiashile got. If Moukoko, I imagine he'd be on the same sort of deal. He's the sort of thing where you can build a team around him for the next 10 years if his trajectory continues in the way it has so far. But it's just another sign of how clever Newcastle are and also the ambitions at that club.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.